Hi, everybody. Great to have you back for week 5 of the Ready to Roll Initiatives webinars. Today's topic, near and dear to my heart, all things locations. After today, we will have one more webinar next Wednesday, July 29th. Our last webinar will center around vanities, and it will also include a vendor spotlight. Vendors include Sirius Grip and Electric, DC Camera, and Plus One Rentals. They will discuss new checkout procedures, how to handle last-minute set deliveries, and their new disinfection procedures. After that, we will have our main discussion with makeup, hair, and wardrobe. Our guests include makeup artist and wardrobe stylist, both whom have been working in California the past few weeks. We invite wardrobe stylists, makeup artists, producers to this discussion. And we also hope that local casting directors will also tune in so they can help inform their talent on what to expect when they return to set. We are also conducting departmental Zoom meetings, which are also held on Wednesdays from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Zoom meetings are open discussions with a departmental specific moderator. Today's links are on DC Camera and Surviving the DMV Film Shutdown Facebook pages. Today's Zoom meeting will be with locations, and Patrick and I will be moderating. Please help spread the word. Okay, after live broadcasts, webinars are archived on DC Camera's YouTube channel. Today's guests are joining us from many locations. We welcome our first guest, the film commissioners of the tri-state area. Jack Gerbes, director of the Maryland Film Office, Debbie Dorsey, director of the Baltimore City Film Office, Herb Niles, director of the DC Film Office, and Andy Edmonds, director of the Virginia Film Office.
I just want to say associate director. I don't want Angie Gate to find out I was trying to take her job.
No problem.
All right.
No problem.
All right.
You're the director, Herb. You're the man.
After we finish with the film offices, we will be joined by Wes Hagan. Wes Hagan is an active location manager of 20 plus years in the film industry who has worked on numerous feature films and television shows. He recently completed work on the Emmy Award-winning Ozark and the new HBO series Outsider. His past credits include The Way Back, Lovecraft Country, Hidden Figures, The Accountant, Selma, $1 Million Arm, and just to name a few. Wes is a member of Hollywood's Local 399, as well as a 5-year board member of the Location Managers Guild International. Wes is from Ohio, but now lives in Los Angeles. So let's get started with Jack. Jack, can you please give us an update with any governmental updates that location managers and producers should know?
Well, a couple weeks back when the governor went into stage 2, they allowed filming. So at that time, Catherine Badovic and I, and actually more Catherine Badovic, since she's the tech whiz in our office, posted on our site. Basically, the state cannot, we don't have any authority to command regulations, but what we did post, we're asking and strongly suggesting that that any productions follow the white paper from AMPTP, also AICP guidelines, OSHA, and CDC. So we have had lots of calls from a lot of different productions, you know, various scales from larger ones to commercials to smaller local indies, wanting some guidance on how to do it. And we're referring them to that page, which is on our website. Debbie and I keep in contact with SAG and also Dave O'Farrell at IA, because basically any of the, I'm assuming the guilds, their restrictions and their guidelines are going to be more strict, and they have the authority to enforce, as state and city agencies, you know, essentially we really don't. So, you know, things are starting to pick up when it comes to long form. I think a lot of people are waiting to be the first ones in and learn from, and the others are waiting to learn from others' mistakes. You know, we're waiting to hear about our series that we had shooting to come back. You know, certainly want to thank you and you know, your team for putting these on, certainly, because it's a great way community to stay together. And also the Facebook page that you, Adam, the guys from Plus One and everybody did, because I think it's a great way to keep the community together, keep us active. Also, the communications is really important because, as you know, rumors can spread like crazy, and it's a good way to disseminate correct information, which is good. So thank you.
Great. No, thank you. No, keeping the communication open is paramount, and that's why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So Debbie, hi. So after the Bank of America shoot, I now know that you're requiring a review of potential production intent, and you also need a copy of the production company's COVID policies and procedures. Could you please elaborate on that?
Sure. So just to back up, we started around July 6th, Baltimore City, when we went into phase 2, started issuing permits for filming. And thus far, we've had about 8 small projects, mostly very small commercials or interviews, webinars, those kinds of projects. In order to issue the permits, we are asking that all production companies just submit, and it can be a bullet list of what your company's safety plan is. So with that, like Jack, we have a sheet with links to CDC, OSHA, WHO, and then of course the industry white paper, the union and guild guidance. So review all those, just submit to go along with your paperwork, a safety plan, and then permits are issued. We're also making sure everyone with their certificate of insurance shows workers' comp, which they should have already been doing, but that is very important that all insurance has workers' comp. And again, I mean, so far in these 8 or 10, we've been able to work with all of our agencies. We've had school permits issued, right of entry for Loch Raven, street and park permits. So we're open. And of course, you know, this is all changing, but for right now, we're all ready to go.
Perfect. Thank you. So Herb, where is DC right now regarding permitting? Do you have any governmental updates? Are you requiring a review of potential production intent and need a copy of their production company's COVID policies and procedures?
Yeah, so let me sort of walk through, very similar to what Maryland is doing. So Washington, D.C. went into their phase 2 on June 22nd. So our procedure has to align. We've had a few smaller projects just like Baltimore. I think we've had about 6 very small projects to date. They've all been crews of 10 or less. But currently in phase 2, you can technically, so long as you have a safety plan that's approved by the district, you can have a crew of 50 or less, as long as social distancing is observed and the safety plan is approved. You can't have any talent or actors rehearse or perform within 6 feet of each other, mask or no mask. So that's been kind of keeping the productions we've been able to approve to nonfiction stuff, and things where it's a single shot, no group shots. And so we've done that. So our procedure is basically this: you submit your application. After you submit the application, we now have a questionnaire, which we call our COVID-19 phase 2 questionnaire, where additional questions are asked in addition to the standard questions on our permit that pertain specifically to the phase 2 guideline issues. So the restrictions fall under a couple of categories. It can't be a cast or crew of greater than 50. We can't do any parking during this period. We can't do any support that will involve any district or federal public safety agencies. So you can't have a street closure. You can't have intermittent traffic control. You can't have the police just sort of, watching the sidewalk and keeping people out of shot. So that's another restriction. There is a guidance that says travel crew from outside of the district is discouraged. So what our current policy is, if you have crew that are flying in, and we have actually a permit we're working on right now, where there's some crew coming in from New York City, you have to submit a negative COVID test for any crew that are coming in to film from outside of the district. Those have to be submitted within 48 hours of the filming, and we issue the permit and give it to you after we receive those negative COVID tests. So that's generally where we are. When we go into phase 3, and we were supposed to go into it this month, but it's been delayed. We're hoping the beginning of next month to go into phase 3. We'll have some of those restrictions lifted. But the simple answer to everyone on this call, hopefully the organizers of this webinar, if you don't already have my contact information, just reach out to my email. It's herbert.niles@dc.gov. And I'll answer all your questions. I can give you links to our website where we get into a lot of the weeds and the details of some of those restrictions. So that's the overview.
Great, thank you. And Patrick, you can put that up for everybody.
Sorry, yeah.
Perfect.
Yep, I'm here.
So Andy, kind of the same questions. Where is Virginia right now regarding permitting? Do you have any governmental updates? Are you requiring a review of, you know, COVID policies?
There is that, yes. Thank you, Caprice and Ericson and everyone for putting this together for us. Now, in Virginia, we consider this to fall under the manufacturing category, even since phase 1. So what we're doing is content manufacturing. So as such, there really were no restrictions per se that are enforced. There are guidelines that we have listed on our website to go to the various Department of Health guidelines and CDC guidelines. And we took the position that production, because they're risk averse, that they will eventually come up with policies and procedures that are pretty comprehensive, which I feel that they've done in a way. They have some very good policies and procedures in place. So we are not an enforcement entity to enforce regulations. We are a marketing and customer service delivery entity. So when my clients were first reaching out and talking about production and can we go into production, we're like, well, there are no restrictions. There are these guidelines that are highly recommended, but where the rubber's going to meet the road and where the problem is what locations are going to be willing to tolerate in terms of production. Who's going to let you in their home, their business, their building, and such. So that's where the hang up can occur. So this is kind of where we are now. What was interesting yesterday, it's pretty logistically complicated, is that it was announced that Virginia was added to the quarantine list for New York. So any actors, producers, directors, there are now 31 states that have to quarantine for 14 days if you're traveling back and forth from New York, as you guys know. I mean, that's a really complicated thing. It's a $2,000 civil penalty. I mean, right? So if there's an actor coming down from New York for 2 days of filming and they got to go back, they're going to have to sit in their home for 14 days. This is a real problem, but I guess we're all in the same boat. There's 31 states that have this problem. So that's interesting of how that's going to play out. And like Jack said, you know, we had 3 pretty big shows that were ramping up, ready to roll, and by the end of August. And one of them still is in the position, yeah, we're moving towards a shoot date, but just the way the numbers are going, guys, I just don't see it happening. I hope it does, you know, as far as the long form things. I think I was talking about this, Caprice. We had a pretty significant national spot about a month ago, and just had the experience with that. It was a 3-day shoot, and this was the first big union commercial we had. And day 1, things seemed to go well. People were trying all the processes of separating departments and having their little pods and making things work. But by day 2, people were getting frustrated and just going out of the rule book and trying to make stuff happen and hitting the time. And that's going to be the risk that we can put whatever promises, pledges, you know, procedures in place, but if people are not following them, it's just not going to be safe for the public and for the crew and for everyone. So unfortunately, there's just so many unknowns now, even with these procedures in place, about airborne problems with HVAC systems that have yet to be determined. You know, I mean, my office building that we haven't gone to in 3 months is a hermetically sealed glass box with an HVAC system. I'm not thrilled to go into this thing, and nor is anyone. So if you're going to film in an office building, you're going to have maybe the same thing. So unfortunately, since we do not really have a national approach to testing and tracing as other countries are doing, the notion of being able to get back to full-scale production, I mean, we're just kind of stuck until we either go down that pathway, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic here, but that's where we are in Virginia. You know, we're open for business, but the hang up, I believe, is going to be locations. I believe that the white paper is about as good as we can do considering the circumstances, and we're ready to roll when everyone else is ready to roll, basically.
Hey, Caprice.
I think it, go
Caprice,
ahead.
Tell me real quick, and I think it's kind of interesting. Andy brought up a point. You know, this was the 5th of 6 webinars, and we've all been talking about our safety and, you know, the safety of our fellow workers, but haven't really been talking about, and Herb brought this up a little bit as well, about our responsibility for the safety of the public at large.
That's my next question.
Boom, there you go.
Boom. So as a location manager, I take pride in my community relation skills. When we work in a neighborhood, we flyer to give notification to the residents and give the neighbors our contact information so they're able to reach us in case there's a problem or concern. How do we think neighbors are now going to feel about a film crew coming into their neighborhood? Anyone have any thoughts? And would the film offices help with easing these neighbors' worries?
I'll jump in. We just had a shoot on Monday. And like Herb said, I mean, for our office for Baltimore, there are no restrictions, but it's all these permits are issued case by case, and we have lengthy conversations. I have conversations with everyone about what needs to happen. So the shoot that happened Monday was just a 4-person shoot. However, there was some parking that had to be posted. We had police officers intermittently holding traffic. So naturally flyers went out to the neighbors. Included in that information, and of course the flyers come from the location manager or the producer. And in that information, they said that they are following all CDC protocols and whatever social distance that they were doing on this particular set. So that's in there. If there were any questions or problems, of course, they call the location manager, they call my office. And so that's how we're dealing with it. I mean, right now, it's all case by case. It's going to be these small things, projects first. And then when we get up to the bigger ones, whenever that's going to be, I mean, who knows when we're going to have full street closures and 100-person crews. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but we'll get to that. So yes, naturally, we do need to make sure our flyers do contain information to let the community and public know that the crew is working safely.
Yeah. Did anybody?
We have a commercial that's shooting actually up in Harford County today, and it's at a large farm. And although I don't know the owner of the property, somebody in Harford County government does, so they were a little bit concerned. So they called me and we chatted, and the company that's doing it, they seem like they're doing the protocol. So it was just putting the homeowner at ease, and also telling them if something happens where all of a sudden the crew is not behaving correctly, if they're, not putting on their masks, it's their property. They have the right to say, we're done,
Right.
because we don't want people coming into a home and ruining it for future locations, or just, show some decency while you're on somebody's property. So
Right. You just start the rumors as to, oh, this hasn't been working correctly.
right.
But when we had Maura Hurley on, when she did the first TV commercial in New York, they did shoot in a neighborhood, and in their flyer, she just basically said, we're here, we're doing all these things. Please don't intermingle with us. If we're walking down the sidewalk, just stay clear of us. So that was one thing that she did.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's a good idea.
If I could add, Caprice, that I'm more concerned about smaller independent projects, frankly, because what all of this process is doing, as we know, is adding cost and time, to the process. And smaller projects that do not have the budget to handle the procedures and logistics required to make it safe are not going to do it. They're going to try to diminish what is required to make it safe. But the bigger corporate jobs, they are very risk averse, as I said. And so they're going to follow the procedures and make sure people do it because they don't want to create a problem or have their actor get sick or whatever. But the smaller ones are the ones that we really need to help, I believe, in a way that they're able to afford the procedures, right? And to understand the importance of the procedures, because just the nature of production, you're going to try to save $1 here and there, especially when you're running gun a lower budget thing. And that's what concerns me more than a larger crew, frankly, is a smaller crew that's not following the process.
That's true. And that's our concern. And we've pretty much have talked about that on every single webinar in a sense, but those companies should still have policies and procedures put in place. And we've been telling the crews, if you get a call from job, the first thing you should be asking these companies are, what are your policies and procedures? And if they go, what? Then I would go click. I wouldn't even take the job, take the time to educate them, whatever. I would just not take the job because they're not showing, but they're going to get in trouble because if they're not doing any kind of policies or procedures, someone does test positive, they get traced back to this film production, and then they've showed negligence that they haven't done anything, it's going to come back to bite them in the ass. So,
There is a vaccine for that, though.
right.
Rabies.
So we did, Jack and Andy did kind of touch on this a little bit. Do we have any updates on these long-term projects that were, stopped in March? Is there anything that you can speak of that you've heard? We kind of touched upon that a little bit, but just wanted to bring it up again because I'm sure a lot of people on this call have been on these long-term projects.
Well, I can speak, a little bit confidentially about some of the larger projects we had in our pipeline. So as the other jurisdictions have, we have an incentive program. So we had some projects in our program that were able to start filming and we're able to finish, and we're going to, go through the process of going through their expenditure reports and getting their checks. We did have another group of projects that had not yet started to film. So like other folks have said on this, we have some people that we think are coming back, but they're moving their dates. And some people are just rethinking it and either aren't going to do it or might do it elsewhere. Currently, most of the projects have just called us and saying, we're thinking about coming back in January, in the spring of next year. Could we do something before Christmas? So a lot of people are very interested in finding a way to do it. And they're just coming to us saying, what phase are you going to be in late November? What phase will you be in January? Yeah. So I think there is an interest in making it work. And all of the projects that had initial discussions with us still seem interested. It's just a matter of moving the dates. So that's the general overview that we're getting.
Great. So I had one more question. So in California, and maybe where did Wes, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Wes, because you're in California, but in California, Governor Newsom has indicated that if restrictions began again on film crews, that film crews would be exempt. If we were to have another limit of non-essential work, do you think that Governor Hogan would be open to a film exemption?
Is this question for me?
I guess it's for Jack. Governor.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, you said what? Yeah. Well, I mean, it all depends how the numbers are. Unfortunately, in the past couple of days, our numbers have gone up a little bit. Our positivity rate is still below 5%, at least as of Friday. So that's something certainly that we're promoting. It's going to be case by case. I can't offer an answer right now that, oh yeah, there's going to be, this exemption. We have to see what the future holds. Yeah,
great. Well, listen, I have to jump onto another meeting. So what I'd like to do is just thank everybody for being on. I really appreciate it. Patrick, why don't you open it up to see if anybody has any questions for the film commissioners? We can finish with them and then on to Wes. If I finish my call early, I'll try to jump back on.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I will go through these questions, and some of them have already been answered. I guess the first one here, and you've kind of answered this in general, but is there any difference between union and non-union jobs as far as what you guys are permitting or noticing, as far as application or have anything? Because I mean, I think some of the union jobs are a little bit more protected by their you know, their status as a union job as opposed to, you know, somebody applying, you know, it's kind of an interesting.
The work is the work for us. The work is the work for us. So.
Yeah. And this is more towards Debbie. How would you, Debbie in Baltimore?
I don't ask if the jobs are union or non-union. Like Andy says, their work. And then, of course, their safety plan. They have to review the union guidelines, the draft guidelines. So, and then I always just mention and ask, you know, hey, make sure you talk to, you know, SAG and our local business agent. And that's up, you know, that's then up to.
That's sort of up to us. I think.
Yeah, to the production. I'm not.
Yeah. Okay, and let me see. Here's a direct question that's interesting coming from me. So Andy, is there any specific restart or information you have on Swagger or the other projects that were coming to town?
You know, I don't know what I'm supposed to actually specifically discuss on that, but they're still in the game. They're still in the game, okay. And things are still moving forward at this point today, right? They have not.
It's kind of like, I think I've gotten on many of the projects I've been involved in, that's sort of the same story. It's like everybody wants, let's do it, but we don't know when, sometime in the future, maybe next year, you know.
I mean, one of the projects is one project is specifically pushed to start to November, but yep. Swagger's still in the game for an earlier start, but we'll see, you know.
All right, cool. All right, it says it's talked about that. So I think actually we've gone through most of the questions. Oh, here's one more question here. Any word on, I guess, the president is missing and the HBO projects from Jack?
Yeah, I have a weekly dialogue with the folks at Showtime. Hopefully we'll get some more solid information in the next couple of weeks, according to them. I mean, I think the president is missing, as is Swagger and all the other long form. One of the big problems they're having right now, certainly safety is the issue, you know, first and foremost. But secondly, as things have gotten backed up, the issue is actors and who's in first, you know, in regards to they have other commitments. And that's going to be a lot of, I think, legal discussions between studios saying, okay, well, our lead, no, he was supposed to shoot this, yes, but he was supposed to start with us. You were supposed to be done by now, so you're going to start. We're going to start in September. So it's crazy right now. Regards to the president missing, they want to go forward. It's just a matter of how they can do it safely and how they can coordinate schedules. And I think that's pretty much every long form show.
I mean, it seems to me that the whole quarantine adds another layer. If you're a producer and actor trying to juggle your schedule so you can do a show, I mean, you could drop out of a project, availability for a project based upon the quarantine only, you know.
Hey,
okay, well,
I'm just gonna say I have to jump on a call, so I have to say goodbye. But so good to see you guys. Wes, sorry, I wish I could stick around, but say hi to everybody for me, okay? You guys be good. Thank you.
You good.
The other film commissioners some of the other film commissioners had to jump off as well, so I think we're going to say goodbye to you guys. And
I have to go.
Peace.
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks for having me. If anyone has
Stay
questions,
safe, everyone. Stay safe.
All right, take care.
Caprice, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Meeting
Sweet, that was the
canceled.
shortest meeting, shortest Zoom meeting.
Just like the film business, everything changes every 15 minutes. So, you know,
Take it away.
All right, I'll take it away.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Wes.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us from Los Angeles.
Thanks for having me.
So can you start by giving us an overview as to what you have been working on the past couple of weeks?
Past couple of weeks, I was on a feature film that was an independent, one location before this started, and we had about 5 days left when everything shut down. So when we got the green light June 12th from the governor, we put our small team back together and started talking about how we were going to move forward. Our 5 days turned into 12 days when we scheduled out COVID. and testing and all that comes with that. So we put together our schedule, we put together our plans for the guilds and the unions. It took us about a month and a half to get accepted to move forward with them. And then, we started the process of putting the crew back together and pulling permits and just getting up and running again. So we're still a little ways away. We're not planning on starting to film until August 20th, but we are knee deep in prep right at the moment. So we've been actively prepping. That project being as small as it is, it's been manageable for us. I'm also kind of gearing up a show in Georgia, Ozark, at the moment, and I'm supposed to fly there on Sunday to walk through with the COVID team that they've hired to start talking about that, which would shoot in November. So that's just a dream right now that they have. So we don't know if that's going to happen or not, but that's what they're hoping for. But anyway, that's what I've been doing recently.
How has the crew morale been since your cases have started rising again?
It's, we've been together now for over a month, so it's okay. We're a really small crew. We have a few people that, tend to get worked up about things, but, all in all, it's been pretty positive. Everybody's staying positive and moving forward. So, yeah, we're trying to keep that positive energy flowing because, one person with negativity, it spreads very quickly. And we've been preaching that since the beginning, try to stay positive. So we've been doing a good job.
Yeah. And who's your HSS or HSM or your COVID supervisor on this job or even on your Ozark job if you've met them already?
I've met both of them, actually. We have two different teams. On the small independent feature here in LA, I'm working closely with Real Security. They've been in the industry a couple decades. They knew our industry extremely well, and they quickly pivoted and started a company called Real Health. You guys may have heard of it already. They're worldwide. They've blown up. So I'm working with one of their epidemiologists for testing, and we're doing testing on the little show that I'm doing right now 3 times a week, just to learn the process and figure out the bumps, in the road. So Real Security's been fantastic. They've got a great program together. You can look it up online, realhealth.com. I believe they're in Philadelphia working with Servant right now. They're in Boston, they're in Georgia, they're a little bit of everywhere. So I've had a great experience so far with these guys. We have a little app, everybody fills out the questionnaire every morning. And you take your temperature at crew parking, you get in the van, you go to the set. And then we have COVID monitors in multiple places. Even for this little show, I have 4 COVID monitors. They're constantly, walking around, checking things out. They help with cleaning. They do a little bit of everything for us. So with them, it's been really great so far. The other company I'm working with Ozark is called CTEH. They're from Arkansas. And MRC has contracted this company. They seem awesome. I haven't had a chance to really dive in deep yet with them, but they were first responders on the Princess Cruise Line. So they have, experience in that world. They are working with other film companies right now, but they're very new to the film industry. So I'm curious to see what the difference between somebody like Real Health, who's been around us for 2 decades and understands how we flow as a unit, versus a outside company that's not really worked with us before. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Great. Let me just get the next question. Has the crew been receptive to these new positions?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's very happy for their presence. It puts a bit of a comfort to some people, I think, and when they're worried about something, they have a question, they go up and you know, all the monitors that we have are extremely knowledgeable. They're all healthcare professionals, from paramedics to, you know, ex-battalion chiefs for fire departments. So, you know, it's been a good thing, you know, to have them around.
Hey, Patrick, can you pick it up from here, please?
Sure. So this is interesting because I've been doing a little scouting lately too. So in general, have you done much scouting on these projects that you're working on?
No, we were one location for this
Gotcha.
feature film, and you know, it's a house in the hills in Encino, and it's on a 2-acre property, so it's pretty contained.
Gotcha.
I have, you know, re-notified the neighborhood, and I have been speaking to neighbors, you know, and telling them what we're up to. So that's been interesting. Some people, you know, want nothing to do with that, and you know,
Right.
others are receptive to it. So it's hit and miss with that. I think everybody's going to probably be the same.
And so then the next connected question is that you do a tech scout, and how did that work? And how did that go through?
I have not done a tech scout yet either. We're such a small project. I mean, our crew was 50 people, you know, when we were up and running before COVID. We're shrunk down to 30 at the moment. So we haven't had a full tech scout. You know, we already knew the property, so we're just kind of back.
And then just in general, now that California has opened up again, how is kind of the general set life change? I mean, I know one of the things as a location manager, my style tends to be, especially on episodic, is, you know, I start on set in the morning, and then I go to the office, and then I go scouting with the next episode's director, and then I probably have a couple of meetings, production meeting, and then I go back out to set. But in that interim time, if I need questions answered, hey, there's Caprice back.
No, I'm gone.
Park and
Changes
go right
every
to the
15 minutes. Fast.
Nice. So if then I, you know, get out of my car and go right to the monitor and go right to the person I need to get the question answered. But with this new zone system, it's just not going to work that way.
No, it's definitely different. I mean, we haven't really incorporated Zone A yet because we're not shooting.
Yeah.
But we have tested all of our Zone A people already, and you know, they're at home. But it is different. I mean, we've isolated each department on the property to certain areas, and we've made maps based on every single day of our schedule. You know, we put our schedule together for the 12 days that was 5, and we laid out overheads where each department will go every day. You know, it's basically, we've created a map for everybody that is idiot proof, basically, you know, and it's like, here's where you guys go. So the COVID team helped us with that, you know, very much so. And they've helped us restructure the way that things were set up at this property. So, you know, it is much different. I gotta say, there's a learning curve.
I mean, when you go back to work on Ozark,
yeah,
are you going to be in Zone A, or are you going to assign an assistant manager to Zone A?
I am. We had this discussion on a Zoom call yesterday. There will always be a need for some Zone B people to have that interaction with Zone A. And our COVID leader on Ozark said that in those instances when we know that you need to have that kind of interaction, you'll have to get tested before you go into Zone A, like that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then this is related too. So, you know, film sets, even from crews with 30 people or 10 people or, you know, 150 people, we tend to ooze like maple syrup. And so that, I mean, that's a related question. I mean, you generally are having to find a lot more prep areas depending upon the size of your shoot. Is that correct? I mean, how do you, you know,
we've doubled our size for this small crew, doubled with like crew parking, base camp, work truck lots, catering areas. But we're pretty strict about who comes and goes from the set. You know, we're a gated property, so we all wear wristbands, and then we have lanyards that say A and B on them. And, you know, that's the COVID monitors who's where. So it's very, very controlled.
So this is just a related question. When you're doing your budget, or I don't know if you've done a budget.
Oh, yeah.
Compared to your pre and post, you know, what kind of line items are you adding? And is there, would you say there's an overall increase of how much overall just in your locations budget?
Well, I've done budget.
Related, is COVID stuff on a separate, in other words, is there a separate budget for COVID that goes to the producer, or is it another, you know, another subheading on yours like security or something like that?
Well, I've done 3 budgets. I did one for HBO's Euphoria recently. I did one for Ozark, and I've done the little one that I'm doing right now. The bigger ones, like HBO, for example, Warner Media, they have in-house COVID people. So the big studios seem to be all following suit and having an in-house, you know, control of that, which is the testing and the PPE. Yeah. So the big ones, all I'm budgeting for is cleaning, really, at the end of the day. So extra hand wash stations, which those are a number, you know, and you've got to have them everywhere. Touchless water dispensers, you know, touchless bathrooms. My bathroom number's gone up extremely high. Servicing the bathroom, cleaning the houses or cleaning the location every day, electrostatic spraying, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe more. It just depends on who you're working with and what their requests are.
You're talking about the, I guess it's called the generator. Is that the thing with the water and the salt and the?
Well, yeah, electrostatic spraying can be, it's a tool basically. And
the Ghostbuster machine with the.
Yeah, exactly. And what you put in that machine varies. You know, some people are using like BioLise, which is a chemical. Other people are using D7, which is a very widely known product that kills everything that's got hydrogen peroxide in it. I am personally using on this show, the small one, hypochlorous acid, which is water and salt.
Yeah, that's
electrolyzed, and it's safe. It's just water and salt. So there is now a question about when we spray it on equipment, the salt and the metal, is there an effect on that? We're starting to find out that there is. So we may switch our products, but regardless, the cleaning aspects tripled in my budget, if not more.
Yeah. Hey, Wes, I just wanted to say, is there anything else that you want to say to the rest of us that we haven't touched on, just in general, like to, you know, bring up, I guess, to your colleagues on this side of the country?
Well, I mean, it's just, you know, you shorten the days. Everything takes longer. That's all I can say. Everything takes quite a bit longer. And you know, some people are saying we're not going to have as many location people. I don't think that that's even possible. We need more location people to handle everything that's happening. And I found that out.
That's like my big thing now is you can't do the old, just get some kids. Just get some kids.
No, yeah. You got to have people that know what they're doing and know how to handle other people that have done this. So it's a lot of work.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, Wes. Thank you so much for helping us today. And then we have Wendy Walker, who does craft service. You can see her on the screen here. Wes, if you can certainly stay and hang out with us, but if you got things to do, sounds like you're pretty busy. But otherwise, Wendy, I just wanted to, I guess the idea of having you here today was to talk about things related to craft service because I know that that's one of our major interfaces with the location department. And what?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And in all of the webinars that we've had, it's been great to hear from the folks that have been back on shoots and the producers that have been doing them, to hear the different ways in which they're handling Crafty, from giving per diems out and having people just bring their snacks in their backpack, to having more of a concession stand style craft service. And in my opinion, and I mean, most of the work that I do in the Baltimore, Washington area are the smaller commercials, and I deal with crews of like 30 to 50 people. But in my opinion, Crafty is really part of your safety plan, because we support every department. And when you have everybody bringing their own food, everyone bringing their own drinks, nobody is paying attention to allergies, nobody is paying attention to where that food is landing, where, where it's being eaten throughout the day. So by having a genuine craft service person and a crafty space, I think you're really helping to keep your set safe. I think Mo mentioned that the shoot that she did, I'm gonna say in LA, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Her craft service person contracted with a bakery to have some home baked goods that were individually wrapped. So it wasn't just all of the prepackaged things that you're getting from the grocery store. And I think that's great too, because then you're working with small businesses in the area where the shoot is taking place. And that's part of what we do to help stimulate our economy, right? We talk about how wonderful it is that our shoots bring money back into our community. I think Crafty is a really great example of how we can do that. In terms of having people bring their own snacks, I'm very against that. I completely understand when you have a shoot of 5 to 10 people that a per diem seems like a great idea, and having people bring in their own stuff. But part of what I do and what I care about is making sure that I've got stuff for everybody's different types of eating styles, and I'm paying attention to allergies, and I make sure that we have, nice selection for everybody. So a nice, safe way, I think, to do that would be for a pre-production Google sheet to go out when the crew is hired. Give them a menu to choose from. Give them, options for the non-perishables and the perishables, and let it be something that they have, like a snack pack that they pick up at the craft service area or is brought to their pod or their area, where each individual person has a bag of non-perishable snacks that have been put together for them to have for the day. And then at the crafty table, we're dealing with the perishable foods that need to be done, the sandwiches, the soups, any of those things that can be individually, cooked, done, packaged, available for people during the day.
You made me laugh because I just did a shoot not too long ago, and it was a relatively small shoot. But the first thing I did when I got out of the car, I was handed a, like a grocery bag with my name on it, and it had all my craft service in there. And I was like, I still have that bag of craft service. There was so much craft service in that bag. I was like, what do you guys think? Do we eat that much craft service a day? I guess it must be. It's kind of like interesting to have it stuck in your face. Like, this is what you eat every day. Here you go.
Yeah,
That seemed to work out really well. That seemed to work out really well.
And that's great. That's great to hear. And I think snack packs in general are always a good idea. What I want to make sure we're doing is we're not wasting money, because I know the producers really care about money, and it has always killed me with the amount of food that we have on our craft service table that gets thrown away at the end of the day. So getting those menus ahead of time, getting people to select what they want, that means I'm only going to buy what people want. So I think you're going to see a little cost reduction there that will then be balanced out by these extra cleaning costs and things that you have later on. So I think there's a really safe way to do crafty, and I really genuinely believe that it is part of keeping everybody safe, to have all the food coming from one source, have all of the prepackaging done, whether it is homemade stuff, I say homemade, made in a commercial kitchen made, as opposed to just prepackaged that we buy at the store. I think there's always a good balance between those things. And I think that having all of your crew with the food that they need to sustain their energy to do their job, and with the liquids that they need to stay hydrated, especially in this heat. It's insane. We want to make sure everyone stays hydrated, and that way we can all work safely. Particularly, like Wes is saying, that 5-day shoot went to a 12-day shoot. So now you've got that longevity of being out there. I know that none of the crew is going to want to run out and get their snacks every day at the grocery store after a long day at work. So even if you've given them that per diem, chances are by day 11, they're not going to be bringing what they need to sustain themselves through the day. So
I had a tech scout not too long ago that was all over Western Maryland, and handed out, like, here's your crafty, here's your walkie on a Ziploc bag, and then we talked on the walkie-talkies to each other throughout the entire director's scout, as opposed to, and then it was like, all right, and we met. They handed me their.
Yeah. You were in Western Maryland and you didn't come say hi to me?
I was kind of freaking out. I didn't know. I was a little bit weird to be out in the world, actually. So I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
So, is there anything else that you want to bring up? I mean, I guess water is a particular thing because, especially on bigger productions, I don't know if we're going to be going into those giant extras days. I just last year did a project that had 500, 600 extras, and just that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother animal. Yeah.
Extras standing around the craft service table, is just.
I think those days are over for quite a long time.
Super, supercell of COVID. That would be one right there. Yeah, those days are over.
Yeah, but we did a couple of green shoots at the end of the year last year, like late 2019, that worked really well having the water dispensers on the set. Everybody was issued, their own water bottle, and we had the dispensers throughout the set. And it was a little bit of an adjustment for people who were used to just being able to grab a bottle of water. But I think that kind of thing would work very well.
Now, is the green water bottle dispenser with everybody in their bottle, is that COVID compliant? I don't really know. I mean, is that, or do we now have to give, are we going back to the
I think, like Wes said, the touchless water dispenser, I think, would definitely fall into the COVID plan.
Good. So we can still stay green.
My bigger concern is coffee because I know everybody loves coffee, and it's not actually the coffee dispenser that concerns me so much. It's the 5,000 kinds of cream that everybody wants and all the different types of sugars and things like that.
I have a flashing on a vision of here's water, here's sodas and juice, and here's the creams.
Yeah.
It's always like, to begin with, that's probably something.
Creamers have their own life now. So so I would say being able to hand someone a bottle of water or a LaCroix or a Pepsi is perfectly fine in a concession style thing. Coffee and tea are a bigger concern for me because they're so personalized. So I would say we need to look at some good.
I want to say thank you, Wendy, for helping us. And I want to remind people that this afternoon at 1 p.m. there's a locations chat, which is more of a free-for-all where we can all just gossip and do whatever the hell we want. So I'll probably play a little bongos if Caprice lets me. And I'm just joking. But I think one of the things that I kind of get from this, and I hope that everybody else gets the same idea, is, we're talking about the responsibility of the producers and the responsibility of the unions and the responsibility of the clients and the responsibility of the governments and the film commissioners and all that sort of stuff. And I think it really, everybody wants to work. I hate not working. I like to work. I also don't want to be responsible for anonymously murdering somebody by being an asshole. I don't know if I could say that on Zoom, but you know what I'm saying is it really comes back to us. It's just like figuring out how to do it and do it right, because this is going to be over soon. Not soon, but eventually. But we got to be prepared for whatever comes next, and I think it's really, it's more about getting that muscle exercised and ready to, But anyway, I just want to say thank everybody, and hopefully there's one more of these webinars. It sounds like everybody's getting back to work a little bit. Which I know it's a little bit scary and a little bit, people are happy and yet a little bit afraid. If you have anything you want to talk about, see us at the webinar at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Great. Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye-bye.